Hey, hello and welcome. It's Pnddya here. I hope you are doing well. And I've jumped on again to do another live for you. And today I think you're really going to enjoy this one because it's all to do with your imagination and your consciousness. And I get this question a lot, is living from the end and acting as if, which one should I do? And is there a difference between the two? And I'm here to alleviate some of the guesswork in that question, and answer that question for you so that you can start to really see the results in your life, tangible results, and what living from the end is and what acting as if is, because there's a difference between the two. Now, your imagination is real, and your imagination creates your reality. You've probably heard that quite a few times, but the question is, do you actually believe that you are the creator of your reality? That's the first kind of belief you need to develop. Now, you can perceive of things that already exist, okay? And you can do that through your imagination. Living from the end and acting as if, which one should you do? And is there a difference? Well, let's get into it right away. So, your consciousness allows you to observe things. And if you're not conscious of something, you won't see it. It's as simple as that. You will not see it, or you won't really have any feelings about it, because you won't be thinking about it, right? Your world is limited to your consciousness and your imagination. And this is something that you need to understand. And you really need to, as I say, develop a belief around it, because your imagination is the greatest gift that you have been gifted with. Okay. And that imagination is actually in your mind, it's your consciousness. And the beauty of it is that you can use your imagination with your eyes closed or open, right? In fact, you don't need to have eyesight to see and envision your dream life, to see and envision your goal, the perfect person you want to manifest in your life. Whatever you want to manifest, you don't actually have to have the eyes to see it. And I'll go into this a little more deeper as well. In fact, Helen Keller, now she was the lady who had no eyesight. She was blind from the age of 19, I believe, and she was deaf as well. She said it very perfectly. She said the only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. The only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. Now, she was an American author and a disability rights advocate. She became very, very famous with what she achieved in her life. A whole lot. You might want to look her up. But again, as I said, she had no eyesight and she had no hearing. She lost that at the age of 19. So you must start by using your imagination more consciously. And when you understand this, that your imagination is actually a thing, it's very real, then living from the end becomes effortless. And this whole living from the end thing is something that Neville Goddard talks about a lot in his lectures, in his book. The most famous book that he was famous for writing is The Power of Awareness. So if you experience your desire in your imagination, where everything is actually created first before it comes a tangible physical reality, whether, as I say, whether that's a specific person in your life, whether it's a dream car, a bigger house, more clients for your business, growing your business, increasing your income, maybe getting and landing that dream job, whatever it is that you want, you will get into the belief of it once you start to come from the place of already imagining that you are it, or you already do have it. So, you'll say, yeah, I've just experienced this in my imagination, therefore it is real. So you've got to imagine it first, because your world, as Neville Goddard says, is only limited by your consciousness and imagination. So, weakness of attention, poverty of imagination, right? So the things that you can't imagine, they don't exist anywhere. And the things that you can imagine, even if you haven't seen them, they exist somewhere. That is a very poignant point and important for you to understand, that the things that you can imagine, even if you haven't seen them, they do exist somewhere. Yeah. So your consciousness you are responsible for your consciousness. You are responsible for your reality. If you believe you are the creator of your reality, this will seem and be a lot easier for you to understand. But the mistake that many people make is that they go into their imagination trying to make something happen on the outside. And when I say trying, I mean they're forcing it to happen, right? And of course, it's not going to happen that way because force negates, right? You have to go into your imagination to experience the thing that you want, whatever that is. Because the secret is you have to feel it like it's already done, right? Feeling is the secret, as Neville Goddard says in his book. And that was the first book that I was actually exposed to 9 years ago. Feeling is the secret. And then I started to read The Power of Awareness and started to study that. In fact, I read that every day. And that's when things will start to shift for you. And you will get another perspective from it, and things will start to manifest much more quickly for you because you are coming from a much more relaxed place, and you're not forcing anything, or you're not anxious about it. You haven't got anxiety about this thing that you want to create or manifest in your life. So when you know it's already done, because you've just experienced that in your imagination, that it does exist, it is real. And creation is finished, right? There's nothing that's left to create. The creator has already created it. So then living from the end means in your everyday life, in your physical, 3D reality. This is another question that I get asked is, well, how do I continue to live from the end? Once I've imagined something, once I come out of that, how do I go about my day-to-day life? And that's a very, very good question. Basically, what you do is you embody that feeling, because when you're doing the imaginal act, as Neville Goddard talks about, there's a feeling that will come through. There'll be a feeling of what you imagined. So you start to live from this knowing, from this feeling that it's done. And that's basically it. That is the end. I can kind of stop this video now because there's nothing more to say. There's nothing more to do. Because when you live in this new state, what you've done is you've died in your old state. The old you has died. And you've given yourself a new birth. There's a rebirth that's happened. You are now living from the wish fulfilled, the new state, okay, the new you. And you will start to take action from the new state. You'll start to take action from the new version of yourself. And that's how simple living from the end is. But what people do is we make it so difficult by thinking there's got to be more to it. The doubts, the fears, the questions. And that's only because you don't trust your imagination. We're not trusting that we've just seen in our imagination. And, what we felt is not real. And that's why living from the wish fulfilled is difficult for many, many people. So when you come out of your imaginal act and you open your eyes, in fact, I sometimes do this with my eyes open because, like I said, you are seeing with your mind's eye, not your physical eyes. You don't really need to have physical eyes to imagine, right? And once you start to do this, you start to embody the feeling. You start to come from that imaginal act, knowing that it's done. And that takes a little bit of practice. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but not much practice. Because if you discipline yourself to do this imaginal act every day, you'll start to see its reality in a few days or a few weeks' time. Because what's happened is you've just experienced it, so it does make sense, right? It doesn't really make any sense for you to disbelieve it or to think that it's not here, because you just saw it with your very imagination in your consciousness. Does that make sense? So you don't need to do anything else. But all you need to do is take the action that you'll be guided to take, and that is called inspired action. That's your consciousness guiding you. So be alert, be ready for when that consciousness comes in, your consciousness comes in, and it's telling you to do certain things. It's telling you to go somewhere. It's telling you to take a certain act. That's the action that you're taking from the inspired action and the guidance that you're getting. Your only job is to get into the feeling and living from the end and embodying it, not as though it will be true, but embodying it because it already is true. And that's the difference. So when you hear people say act as if or fake it until you make it, that's not the real deal. And that's where many people fail in manifesting, because they've been taught the law of attraction wrong. The way I would say is, how about changing the fake it to faith it until you make it? Have faith in what you've experienced in your imagination and embody that experience and start to walk with faith, because that's the correct way of the law of attraction. Because the ultimate law is the law of vibration, right? Your feeling. The law of attraction can only work until your wish, your dream, your goal is felt, right? It's felt in your subconscious, it's felt in your heart, because feeling is the secret. Because when you act as if, what does that imply? It basically means that your desire is not real and it's not here yet, right? It's because you're acting. But there's a big difference. Do you see? When you act as if something is real and when you're living from something that already is real, the difference is in your thinking. Because when you're acting as if, you may, I don't know, walk around, pick up your phone, go into your bank app, act as if you've already got the money, you're already wealthy. But then when you don't see what you want to see, what happens? The doubt kicks in. Yeah, the worries start happening, anxiety. Now, I'm not saying you cannot get results this way. You can. But ask yourself this, the people who are getting results that way, ask yourself, is it because they are acting as if, or is it because whilst acting as if, possibly subconsciously, they start to embody it and they feel it and they really start to believe in it? So they're coming from the imaginal act. They're coming from living from the wish fulfilled. So you can go a step further from acting as if and embodying it. So live from the wish fulfilled, think from the end, because you know that you've just experienced that in your imagination. And over time, your problems, your doubts, your fears, over time will actually go away. And that, in short, is what living from the end is. That is what Neville Goddard talks about in his books, especially in The Power of Assumption. And the real question you want to ask yourself is, do I want to continue to follow the rules I followed up until this point in my life, or do I want to live by my imagination? And just talking of Neville Goddard on the book, The Power of Awareness, if you haven't studied this book, I really highly recommend that you do. There's a chapter in here called The Power of Assumption. This is one of the laws, the law of assumption. He says, a man's consciousness is all that he thinks and desires and loves, and all that he believes is true and consents to. That is why a change of consciousness is necessary before you can change your outer world. And that's exactly what I've just said to you. Your thoughts cannot change unless you have new ideas and you think from your ideas, because all transformation begins with an intense, burning desire to be transformed. And the first step in the renewing of your mind is desire. You got to know what it is that you want. You got to know where it is that you want to go in your life. You must want to be different before you can begin to change yourself. Then you must make your future dream a present fact, and you do this by assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled. I hope that's helped many of you watching today. If you have any questions, as always, private message me or put your comments here. I read each and every one, and I'd love to get back to you if you do have anything that doesn't really make a lot of sense to you right now. Doesn't matter. Just message me and I'll be happy to help you. Until the next video, this is Aalpa Pnddya, and thank you for watching.